I'm sure most of you have heard about this show Family Guy. For those who don't know, it's about the Griffin family, consisting of Peter, Lois, Stewie, Chris, Meg, and their pet dog Brian, going on wacky hijinks as an adult. I love the show. However, there's one episode I would like to mention, an episode I haven't actually seen, or heck, even people had seen, and you might be asking yourself, what do you know about this episode? Well, I was strolling down for the park when I saw a neatly placed table in the middle of the park. It turned out to be that someone was having a DVD sale there. Curious, I walked up to the table and the owner happily greeted me as he told me I could have of any movie or TV show at very reasonable price. But what caught my eye was this Family Guy DVD. It was written in black Sharpie and had the words, "The Big Goal." I asked the man in charge about this DVD, and he stated it contained a Family Guy episode so demented that it wasn't aired on live TV. I decided to give the man the money and went home, curious about the episode. Before I put the DVD in my TV, I looked it up once again, and I decided it was just a sports-themed episode. But little did I know, it was more than just a sports-themed episode. I popped the disc into my TV, and it started off with the FBI warning screen at the beginning. Then it just started off with the intro, but something was a bit odd with the opening theme. The camera just focused on the piano, the same kind that Lois played when the beginning of the jumpstart of the theme song. When I noticed that the living room of the house was dark, there was no music played, the audio only consists of owl hoots and cricket chirps. Then I looked out of the window of the house, and it turns out it was only illuminated by the moon. It was nighttime outside, and it didn't start with Lois swooping down and play the piano. It was just a still frame of this. I decided to shrug it off, thinking that there was a reason why Lois didn't immediately swoop into that, as she was still asleep, given the outside showed the night sky. Then it cuts to black, and the episode immediately started with a shot of the Griffin house during that day, as the normal background music played. The camera then cuts to the interior of the house, where we see Lois sitting on her bed, and she was oddly mute for some reason, as her back was turned against the camera. It turned out that she was staring at a wedding picture of her and Peter, and she says to herself the first lines of the episode, "Today's the big game," in an oddly sinister voice. She proceeds to throw the picture onto the ground, causing the glass to break. She then got up and then went downstairs with a menacing and sinister look on her face. I was pretty suspicious over what she meant by that, but my thoughts were suddenly erupted with a burst of static that came out of nowhere. As it showed the Griffin house at night, it then cut to show Lois and Peter in bed, sleeping. Lois had set up an alarm for herself on the alarm clock. As the alarm clock began ringing, her face went from sleeping to a burst of happiness. She stretched out her arms and went to stop the alarm, then proceeds to go downstairs and get a brief of herself a baseball bat. I did not know why she had such an equipment with her, but when I looked at the TV, it showed her stand right next to Peter's side of the bed. Peter woke up and saw Lois at the side of his bed and screamed, shocked to see her. "Lois, you scared the living daylights out of me. What are you doing on my side of the bed?" Peter asked. But before Lois could say anything, she swung the bat across Peter, knocking him out unconscious. Lois then chuckled to herself before dragging Peter's unconscious body, though she had difficulty bringing the body, which included herself falling down the stairs, with the body in confidential fashion. She then proceeded to bring the unconscious body of Peter onto the garbage in the garage as the screen cut to black. The camera then cut to show Peter's point of view. He wakes up. "What? Where am I?" Peter asked in a frantic manner. The camera then cut to show a wide shot of the garage, illuminated by candles all around. Soon, robbed figures opened the door of the garage. Peter looked in horror. "Who are you?" Peter frantically asks the figure, before the figure reveals to himself the face, revealing Lois. "Lois?" Peter said, but before he could say anything else, Lois hushed her husband as she had a satanic look on her face. She then started answering Peter's previous questions about why he was doing in the garage. Strapped to the table, she stated with all the crazy things Peter had been dragging Lois into. She finally wanted to get vengeance, and soon proceeds to enter a musical number, explain the various reasons of her plan, various bad things Peter did to cause her to be humiliated or harmed in some way, like back in the previous episodes. The musical number was kind of crazy, but on screen Lois was actually doing some graphic things to Peter, like banging his toes and even in his fingers. Peter was screaming in excruciating pain as Lois did that, but the song came to a close, and that's when things started to take the turn for the worse. Another robbed figure soon entered the scene, handing Lois what appeared to be a power saw. She placed the power saw deep onto the table where Peter was. "Lois, what are you gonna do to me?" Peter frantically asked, fearing for his life. "Something I should have done a long time ago," Lois said, while smiling a sadistic psycho. Turning the tool on, she firmly put her fingers over her ears to drown out the sounds of the power saw as it ripped through the table. Peter looked in abject horror as the power saw started to make its way. He tried to free himself from the strains, but they were too tight. There was nothing Peter could do. He closed his eyes and started to quietly utter his final words as the power saw ended up killing him. The camera then cut back to show now Peter dead, with blood splattered on the table. "Oh my God, I killed my husband," Lois said, as she said in the stunned voice. "I killed my husband!" Lois began rejoicing in happiness. Then Rob figure who handed Lois a power saw revealed its face, who was none other than Bonnie, who helped Lois kill Peter. "You should have go home, Bonnie. Thanks for helping me with the revenge," Lois said to Bonnie. As later they left the house, the scene then went to black and then just cuts to show Lois standing next to her table with her eyes focused on Peter's body in frame. Lois was just chuckling happily to herself, but I myself was genuinely shocked at what Lois had done. Soon I realized that it wasn't a sports-themed episode. That was just Lois accomplishing her biggest life goal. To kill her husband, after all, and the painful and embarrassing things that he had done to her. When I looked up the TV, Lois' soft chuckle slowly devoted into a hysterical laugh, and I jumping up with joy in this accomplishment. Soon a voice from upstairs yelled out, "Hey, people are trying to get sleep here. Do your evil laughs outside," the voice said. The voice sounded like rather Chris or Stewie. "Oh, sorry," Lois whispered. She got out of the remote control and go to the garage door. She tried opening it, but before the strangely began to charge at the door, which was opening as soon as she smacked the door onto the immediate faction. Before getting up and getting to the garage door remote, waited impatiently for the door to open. When the garage door was completely open, a thunderclap was heard and the wind was blowing as if a hurricane amongst the mist of the beginning. The wind was immediately blew out all the candles in the garage, and the camera cut to outside as Lois ran over to the open. Heavy rainfall descended from the gray clouds. Lois started laughing evilly and a sinister music began to play, as the heavy rain can be heard. The sounds of water dropping and the sheer loud of intensity of the rain was almost at this point of drowning out the sounds of Lois cackling. Another thunderclap was heard, and the screen flashed with the white light. As the few last blasts of the sinister music could be heard, Lois' cackles again began to fade, as the credits began rolling, with the normal cheery instrumental of the theme song played. And that was when the DVD ended. And that, my little pretties, was Family Guy, The Big Goal, a Family Guy Lost Episode creepypasta written by Affan Jamsari. My final thoughts on this story? This story did have somewhat of a potential to be somewhat interesting and good, but I do have some negatives that I want to go make a mention of. But before I do that, I kind of want to sit here and say that this story I could definitely say that this story did try to come up with something a little decent, but with all due sincerity, the story just needed work. Like, I'm gonna go with the positives of this story just so then that way people will understand and get what I'm saying. For one, the grammar of this story was, good, but although I did spot a few grammatical errors in the story, so there's something I wanted to make a mention of. But also, the sentence structuring, I'm going to say there were a couple of run-on sentences. Like, I spotted some run-on sentences in the story, so that's kind of why the story was a bit difficult for me to read at certain parts. Because of, there's places that should have been periods, places that should have been commas, or they weren't there, or they were just all over the place. So, that made the story a bit difficult for me to read. I'm gonna definitely say that the concept itself was kinda cliche. Like, first of all, to say that Lois would sit there and kill Peter. Like, there's no reason for him to kill Peter. Yeah, I would agree that Peter was such a jerk in Family Guy, especially if you watch the older episodes. I know how much of a jerk Peter Griffin really was, but there's no reason of Lois to sit there and go as far as killing Peter. Maybe get a divorce would be one thing, but there's no reason of Lois to sit there and kill Peter like that. Like, I mean, I know this is a author's note that I just read saying this is a Family Guy creepypasta. It is not meant to be taken seriously. It's just for entertainment purposes. Enjoy the pasta. So I get that it's not meant to be taken seriously. So I am not ranting or anything, but just to give it some criticism, just a little bit of criticism. Like, the story had somewhat of an interesting concept, and I'm not going to deny it. It feels like a good Family Guy episode, as I could honestly see something like this happening. Because, you know, Family Guy has done a lot of weird things, especially if you watch the older episodes, but I'm going to sit here and say this right now. This story was a lot better than the newer Family Guy episodes. At least that's just what it is to me. Although I'm not sure what you guys think, but you guys can let me know what your thoughts in the comments below. This story was not terrible, although it does need to be worked on. But what could be the possibility is probably sit there and maybe put it through Google Docs. I know I'm repeating myself, but yeah, put it through Google Docs to edit the grammatical errors and punctuation errors. But I know that this grammar was good, but it's not perfect. The sentence structure was alright too. It does need work, as I did see some run-on sentences. Like, there's places in this story that should have been periods, places that should have been commas as well. I'm spying like a lot of stuff. Like, there's like a lot of places that should have been periods, and they shouldn't be commas, or really shouldn't be periods. But yet again, I'm definitely saying that now. This story needs to be fixed on, but it's not a terrible story. I'm not gonna lie, it's not a terrible story, so there's definitely that. Okay, now, another thing I would have to say is that I could honestly see this being the case, seeing that Family Guy has, taken dark paths, and I think they did something like this before too, just with different characters, which I haven't watched Family Guy in a while, so maybe that's why I kind of really don't remember what episodes they were. But with all due sincerity, the beginning part is having, someone going and buying a DVD from like a DVD sale or something. Like, that's one of the cliches that I really did not really, care about, because one, those cliches, like the buying a DVD of the episode cliche, has been done to death a lot, and it's already been overused. So that's one of the things that kind of brings my score on the story down. And along with, the reasons why Lois killed, like, Peter, but although I know Lois wouldn't sit there and do that. She would most likely maybe have an argument with him, but, we all know Peter does stupid things, so there's that. I'm not going to be a hypocrite for that. I guess, with that being said, this is just simply my own personal opinion. If you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these creepypastas. This is just simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of the story would have to be I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. It's a decent Family Guy creepypasta, although the DVD cliche was not really needed to be in it. The sentence structuring and the grammar needs to be fixed up at certain parts. The episode itself needs to be, fixed up a little bit, because there's no reason for, Lois to sit there and kill Peter like that. Maybe just have an argument, or maybe have Lois divorce Peter or something. But yet again, I definitely have to say Peter does do stupid things. So, yeah, there's definitely that. Anyways, with that being the case, that being said, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you all not? Also, what we have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and if you happen to be brand new here on this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so then that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro, because I'm out.